Regulating emotion. You are irritated, you are distracted, you are tired. Perfectly understandable. I describe this scenario when I speak before groups and then ask participants to share the strategies they use to deal with their feelings. Here's what they say. Although I'm just going to push through it. I'll have a cigarette in the parking lot. Over the past couple of years, these answers have become quite fashionable. I'm going to breathe and be present. I'm going to my wall. I pray for the best. Maybe you found out a math quiz this morning and you're afraid you're going to flunk and get grounded. Emotion regulation is at the top of the ruler hierarchy. It's likely the most complex of the 5 skills and the most challenging. It's nearly impossible to imagine what life would be like without the power to regulate our emotions. Every emotional response is a unique experience. What triggers an unpresent emotion today may not even register tomorrow. Tomorrow seems Starbucks, but your emotion stage is severe, so you happily gauge around the place and people watch while you wait. Up until now, all the ruler skills have been essentially thoughts and words. Now comes the hard part, putting all the wisdom you gathered from the first 4 ruler skills into action. This is not a multi-chapter. Well, the real work gets done. It's also where the rewards lie. The process by which individuals influence which emotions they have when they have them, and how they experience and express these emotions. Our center is especially interested in how people develop constructive strategies that promote personal growth, foster and maintain positive relationships, and lead to both greater well-being and goal-oriented. Goal attainment. Of all the skills, this is the one with the most moving parts, in a way that makes it both the easiest and the hardest one to tackle. The number of specific strategies for regulation is nearly limitless, depending on the situation and the emotions involved. The strategies that work for you today might not work for you tomorrow, and the strategies that work for you might not work for your partner or child. As I said earlier, our emotions flow in a continuous stream, like a river, and to keep up with, that we are constantly regulating them. It's how we maintain our balance and keep from being swept away by one strong feelings or another. We all know people who seem particularly unskilled at regulating their emotions. They're easily knocked off course by their feelings, and they routinely overreact in unhelpful ways. Or at the other extreme, they suppress their emotion responses so much that they seem cold and numb. They don't permit themselves to feel at all, which is just as harmful as reacting in excess. So you see, you've been doing it all your life. You just didn't know it was a skill. A caregiver who reliably provides a physical and verbal comfort and reassure the infant teaches it that emotional distress is manageable. A caregiver who does not provide such support teaches the infant that he or she may be at the mercy of their emotions. In this way, co-regulation is a precursor to healthy self-regulation. In adult relationships, co-regulation can be intentional, as when we speak smoothly to someone who's upset or try to inspire someone into action. You are joyous or furious or bored, and automatically read the signals that are my mood. is altered. We are all constantly affecting each other's emotional state, but now calm and rational. But human minds and emotions are so nearly organized, and we don't process information one piece at a time. Often we regulate before we are even fully conscious of what we are feeling. Someone is rude to you at work, and your brain instantly jolts you from a peaceful greet into a fear regret, conjuring up angry activation, ready to defend your dignity. Without thinking, you take a deep breath and get some distance. That's regulation. Specifically, implicit or automatic validation. The first category is a strategy that literally keeps us alive. Breathing, specifically mindful breathing, helps us to calm the body and mind so we can fully present and are less reactive or overwhelmed by what's happening around us. The second category we call forward-looking strategies. This simply means that we anticipate something will cause an unwanted emotion and either steer clear of it or modify our physical environment. The third category is the attention-shifting strategies. This takes many forms, but all are based on the same principle, that we can temper the effect of the emotion by diverting our attention away from its source. It can be simple, turning on a TV, walking away from a stressful encounter, or repeating a positive phrase to ourselves. The fourth will call cognitive reframing strategies. We first analyze whatever's triggering an emotional experience, then find a new way of seeing it, essentially transforming our perception of reality as a way of mastering it. Finally, I'll introduce in a meta moment a tool which helps us act as our own selves would, as opposed to reacting and overreacting to emotional situations. I'd like you to take 2 minutes to pause, get comfortable, and breathe naturally. It will help. You can time yourself. Begin now. How do you feel? Did you even do it? Or did you just keep breathing? If you did, try it. How did you feel? Did you get impatient, anxious, bored? Did your mind wander? Maybe it wasn't the first time you taken a minute for yourself all day, and you feel calm and centered. Allowing our minds to be idle is a major challenge for many of us, given our busy lives. And it's especially hard when you are faced with strong emotions such as anxiety, anger, and even excitement. Our brain responds to intense emotions by activating the sympathetic nervous system. Our heart rate goes up and stress hormones and our endorphin are released depending on the emotion. And when pressured, we prepare to flee or freeze. Mindful breathing helps us hit the brake on the activation in our stress response system by decreasing our heart rate. Breathing through the nose is helpful because mouth breathing tends to be faster and shallower. Think of the panting dog, which can reactivate the stress response system. And when our count of breaths and repeat a calming phrase while breathing, we regain balance and control because the areas of the brain is charged shifts from the brainstem from a motor cortex. Breathing also helps us to reset the automatic nervous system by activating the parasympathetic nervous system and inhibiting the sympathetic excitatory one. Forward-looking strategies. The following strategies require enough self-awareness for us to know what exactly will set us off or bring us joy and why. We'll consider how we'll feel in our coming situation and devise a plan ahead of time alter the emotional impact. The skill depends on RU and L, recognition, understanding, and labeling. For instance, you have an aunt who always manages to infuriate you over a Thanksgiving dinner rather than grit your teeth through another tense holiday. You decide in advance to sit at opposite end of the table, problem solved. Or a dozen subordinate at the office who's been after you in a one-on-one meeting, but there's a problem. He makes you nervous, and you know it will be an extreme awkward session. You've been insulting, but that only makes things worse as your dread keeps growing. There is probably some good reason behind your aversion, but you can address that another day. Right now, a good regulation strategy would be to turn your one-on-one meeting into a group session with other employees on your team. The instant of solution occurs to you, you feel better. This strategy requires some self-knowledge, but if we can predict which situations in our encounters will provoke an emotional reaction, we can the measures prevent them from happening. When it's impossible to avert the future completely, we can still anticipate it and change it. Your annual job review is coming up, which always fills you with fear and insecurity for a week before it happens, and upon a dread as it finally takes place. 왜 이렇게 힘들지? 재밌는 게? But if you try to imagine every possible scenario, all the criticism of your performance, okay, that your boss might bring up, and all the reason the response, you will make a response. You might not your usual stammering, defensive self when the time comes. Likewise, avoidance is a strategy. It doesn't sound like an advisable one, but you take useful under certain circumstances. I won't go to a certain restaurant because they have amazing price and I can't resist them. So I stay away from it, save myself a lot of anguish. No great loss. You're in a store and the cashier is rude, but it's not as though you and he are likely to interact in the future, so there is no long-term need to do anything about it. Just never go near the place again, or look for a different cashier. However, if you realize that there have been other instances at work or at home, what your response with your spouse or children, where you've just walked away from rudeness because you felt incapable of facing them, and every time it happens you feel belittled and humiliated or enraged. Maybe there's just something else going on, like an inability to have a difficult conversation or stand up for yourself and deal with unpleasantness. Perhaps you need to find a long-term strategy better than avoidance. There's another aspect of forward-looking strategies for mastering. It involves pleasure only. Let's say you're having a hellish week at work, and you already know that Friday will be absolute cat purr. You're dreading it, but if you schedule a day for Friday night or make plans to go to the beach as soon as you leave the office, you suddenly have something great waiting for you at the end of the tunnel. Or if you have a route appointment looming, you can plan to do something you love right afterward and give yourself a treat to look forward to. As a rule, doing something you enjoy is a very effective strategy for regulation of negative emotions. Attention shifting strategies. These take many forms, but all are based on the same principle that we can temper the impact on an emotion by diverting our emotion our attention from it. It can be as simple as looking away from a stressful encounter or as reflective in delivering self-talk, as though we were speaking to a friend who was under duress, telling them to visualizing it being a beautiful beach, bored waiting in a casual line, so you check your Instagram feed. That's a distraction. Pretty common today. Not terribly useful. You could have devoted those moments to thinking about a new business idea you had and planning your vacation. Still, it is standing there and streaming. Or your credit card payment is due tomorrow and your checking can balance is low, so you each the angst by going to change your spending habits and start saving. If it makes you feel better, fine. It's a good way to avert months like this in the future. But diverting your attention, you won't pay the bill. That's staring you in the face and nerve-wreck until you get back the results from blood test, so you binge watch Netflix. Better than suffering. So frustrated over your inability to lose weight that on your screen will ease the pain. Could help you through the next 15 minutes, but may not the perfect strategy going forward for achieving the particular goal. The list of potential distraction is infinite. Every day, everything from daydreaming to drugs, food, snacking is an great short-term strategy. Not unlike other recreational mode enhances for its ability to provide physical comfort that overrides mental anxiety. It's the search for sugar and the bloodstream that promotes the rush of pleasure to the brain. If you depend on junk food as regulation strategies occasionally, you're like the rest of us. If it's 3 times a day, you may have some emotional and physical issues to deal with. It's impossible to distract ourselves to such a degree that if we avoid dealing with anything difficult, even when our lives will be improved by facing reality and doing something about it. What we commonly call denial are just an extreme form of distraction akin to burying our heads in the sand during a crisis. Still, as emotion regulation, procrastination is a popular way of creating some emotional distance using time rather than space. If a situation is causing you stress, just decide you will deal with it next week or next month or in some indefinite point in the future. Proof it's gone. Politicians and public officials and love this one in the world is known as kicking the can down the road, and it allows them to avoid dealing with painful deficits, deadlines, and other challenges. Procrastination must be effective, otherwise we wouldn't make such abundant use of it. But like other cheap, easy fixes, it's got plenty of potential to harm and not much to help. Self-talk is something we all do at one time or another. It's just simply expressing our thoughts silently, as though we are speaking to ourselves out loud. The best part about self-talk is that it's effortless. Since we all talk to ourselves in a perfect time, many of us aren't particularly nice about it. Think of it when you've called yourself an idiot if something goes wrong. Positive self-talk just requires us to be kind and empathetic when we do it. The challenge we've learned, at least in Western cultures, and that our inborn negativity bias contributes to our negative self-talk, not to mention all of the negative talk we've picked up from our parents too and the peers. We can't just drop it, we need to replace it. process of courage is an activation of sympathetic nervous system, fight or flight, and elevation of stress hormones. Self-compassion, on the other hand, triggers an amygdala, caregiving system and hormones in affiliation and the love and oxytocin. Researchers at the Crossan University of the Michigan and Jason Moyen and Michigan State University have studied how our brains respond to self-talk. In particular, they compared what happens when we address ourselves in the third person rather than the first, meaning that I just start by saying, or Mark, as though I were speaking to someone other than myself. It may not be like much of a difference, but it turns out to be significant. In one's experiment, subjects were shown neutral and disturbing images, or asked to recall negative moments from their own lives. By monitoring their emotional brain activity, the researchers found that the subjects' distress decreased rapidly within 1 second when they performed the self-talk in the third person compared to within the first person. Why would that make a difference? Jason Moore wrote, essentially, we think referring to yourself in the third person leads people to think about themselves more similarly to how they think about others, and you can see evidence for this in the brain. That helps people gain a tiny bit of psychological distance from their experiences, which can often be useful for regulating emotions. Essentially, the person's self-talk is a way of being empathetic to ourselves. I find myself making use of self-talk to regulate my own moves all the time. I haven't found it, but I used to have go-to phrases for different purposes. When I start catastrophizing, I say, Mark, you're making this up. When I'm overwhelmed, and before bed I say, Mark, you know this feeling is impermanent. Go to bed. You'll be fine in the morning. Sometimes the self-talk is more elaborate. I give seminars for girls all around the world. Most of the time, I'm energetic and enthusiastic about my mission and the people who want to learn about it. Sometimes though, as in a third talk, I do keep it in the past 2 days, and I see coming at the end of a long work session, and all I really want to do is lie down in my hotel room and watch HBO. Instead, I've got to get up and perform for the next 3 hours. Here's what I tell myself. Mark, you're about to talk with a 100 school, a superintendent. They oversee tens of thousands of teachers, each of whom is in front of the classroom all day long, educating hundreds and thousands of children. And you now have an opportunity to share something that could have a profound effect on the lives of those kids. What happens tonight in the room will help those children to learn better and succeed, not only in school but in life. Wow, I replied, how lucky am I to be in this position? And with that, I'm psyched and ready to go.